My name is Martin, and we are Monolith. Let me talk about something which is important to me, and I believe it's important to you. Let me talk first about loyalty. So think about for a second, what is loyalty? And do you immediately know what it is? Everybody has a different definition. And what we discovered in our vast research over the course of 3 years working with companies like Nike Town, London, Globus, Bern, Geneva Car Show, we discovered one really important thing. Loyalty is about two things. It is about your perception, and second, it's about your behavior. What does that really mean? If you're a fan of a brand like Apple, is your behavior that you always use Apple? Or is your perception that you always use Apple? Do you go to Microsoft Store? Is that a perception or a behavior? That's a behavior. And we plotted it on a really simple one-to-one graph, and we've seen that both behavior and perception, when you have them at 100%, then you're a loyalty leader. Then you could say that you're a really loyalty leader in your category. However, what we also discovered is that offline stores are the strongest factor in creating behavioral loyalty. Offline stores are three-dimensional spaces which actually allow you to have one-on-one contact with your customer. And we've seen that experience in the offline stores is the most important to create behavioral loyalty. And what happens if you only have a behavioral loyalty and you don't have a perceptual loyalty? Your brand is vulnerable. Today I'm going to present you with a vision which we call Shopability for Profitability. And you're going to see some of the use cases which we did in the course of last 3 years, which are staggering. In some of the stores we had 36% of revenue increase. And for me, I come from online advertising and online behavior business. I spent 10 years of my life, and it was perfectly natural. And it's only 5% of our businesses online. What are we doing with 90% of our revenues? How do we optimize them? And now I promise the formula to you. So if you didn't drink your coffee, do it now. How many of you have seen a movie called Moneyball? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a Brad Pitt movie. It is based on a 2002 actual thing that happened in American baseball. American baseball, you know, it's how much money do you have, it's how much players can you buy and what quality of players can you buy, and if you buy the best ones you will win. So that happened year after year, New York Yankees and so on. They had 150 million, they bought the best players. In 2002, two data guys, mathematicians, have joined Oakland A's, one club. And what happened is they derived the formula, which they called Moneyball formula. They derived the formula in how do you get the best players from schools by using only the metrics which were sometimes neglected. And what happened that year, Oakland A's had 55 winning streak over everybody else. Unfortunately, they have published a book about it in 2002. Today, everybody is using it. So if you have money and you have the knowledge, New York Yankees are still the best baseball team. How come that we don't have the same formula in retail? So what I'm going to show you today, how are the most of the companies predicting net revenue? It's going to be 15% or 35% next year, or maybe if visitors go down a little bit. What's going to happen? So what we found out that there's an actual way how to betterly predict revenues. And how do we do it today? We say, let's multiply the traffic by average sales price, let's multiply it by UPTs and conversion, and it will get to the net revenue. But what is driving the conversion? And today I'm going to show you how you can predict the conversion, and it's actually really simple. There are two things which could accurately predict conversion in any of your stores. First one is the shopping time. So that's how much time do shoppers spend in our stores. And the second one is coverage. how many square meters do our consumer covers in store. And when you have these two still data points, we are now talking about data, you could actually manipulate all of the inputs. So which stores do have a new concept? Which services do we run in these stores? How much staff members per visitor we have in those stores? Are those staff trained or not? What is the product presentation that we use? What is the assortment? What is the marketing we do? What are the campaigns that we are doing? And what are the windows of conversion? So these are the things that bring the conversion up. And you have barriers of conversion. These are the things that block the conversion. And we find them typically in queue lines. So longer queue lines actually contributes to negative shopping time. You think that you have a great store because people spend 20 minutes, but out of those 20 minutes, 5 minutes are being spent in the queues. Do we want to have this kind of store? No. Then the false navigation, which distracts the consumers, then we have a false store logic. These are the things that bring the revenues and conversion down. Shoppable stores have perfect staff to visitor ratio. We have optimal engagement, so time spent in the stores is at peak levels, not too low, not too much, because we get bored. And the third thing is stores covered equally. There are no blind spots in the store. These stores we call shoppable stores. And I'm going to show you now how we are going beyond data analysis and straight to decision making in 5 layers. So first we start with your original data, which you already have, which gives us visibility on a multi-store environment. And as we go block by block, I'm going to show you how we are creating the insights and actions which you could use at your flagships and both at your multi-store. So first thing is a store performance management. What we actually do, we take your POS data, which you normally have in Excel or in a limited dashboard. We convert it in a beautiful, easy to use dashboard, which has 7 layers, and it automatically compares it with averages what should the store be performing. So you immediately see if something is red, what is wrong with that store or the other store as well. And this is the first layer. Again, we don't know why. We know that the conversion has dropped. We don't know why. Then what we do, we install only one camera, which gives you shopping time. How many minutes actually people spend in the store. And that explains why did it happen. Then we go even further, we introduce demographics. Again, why did something happen? Do we have the right assortment for these consumers entering the store? And then we want to know even deeper, we want to know the critical thing, the coverage. We want to know how the consumer is using the store. What is blocking them? Are there any blind spots? And last but not the least, we want to know how our products are performing in the store. Which products are being touched? In fashion and sports retailers, there is a huge correlation in between touching the product and the actual buying. And this is the first part. So down we see the purchase path. As we go in this presentation, we're going to fill the purchase path and we're going to uncover the insights which are carrying the conversion up. So this is a typical retail mathematics formula: traffic times conversion times UPT times ASP equals revenue. And by using simple visual language, you immediately see that something is wrong with the conversion. What is the breakthrough of this software? Is that finally you could click on conversion and untangle what is behind it. I'm going to show you in a minute how do we do it. Secondly, we want to know in between the entrance and the checkout what was the shopping time. And look at this simple thing which we've actually discovered. Shopping time is correlated to a conversion. We found 0.7% correlation in between those two metrics. That's staggering. So as we put more people in our store, they spend more time, they have the better experience, and they come back. So when we understand shopping time, we could actually drive the conversion. And what do? We put it in our system in a simple matrix. So here is a huge shopping time, a huge conversion, and you see the store in Amsterdam has a big conversion, huge shopping time. That store is our best practice store. But what's happening in New York? We have high conversion, low shopping time. Probably we are just checking out. We are actually running too many promotions in that store. And we have a store in London. Huge shopping time, huge opportunity, but low conversion. We need to check the staff in that store. Are the staff members in that store actually utilizing the conversion or not, the shopping time or not? And then we go deeper. Now we want to go from simple people counter, showing us how many people did enter. We want to break down those people. How many males, how many females? What is their approximate age? And then what we do with this data point, we combine it with the assortment to create perfect assortment mix for customers groups who enter the store. Let's go to another level now, but before that I'm gonna actually tell a small case study, which is the first time that we actually had a confirmation of all of our theories. And that happened in one of our customers in the biggest store in Oxford Street. So imagine now, for the sake of the argument, if you're not a woman, that you're a woman. And you enter a huge store in Oxford Street. And the only place you could shop is on the third floor. And what happens? We installed this advanced people counters on every single floor. And we've seen that so we had around 5,000 visitors per day, and only 50% of those visitors, females, actually come to the third floor. So what's happening with 50% of our audience? They're just bouncing back. And to say it again, if you only have people counter and conversion, you don't know actually what is going on in between those 2 points. And that company then said, wow, wait a minute, we need to change something. We are losing a huge amount of money and the experience and loyalty of those customers as well. Not only the money. We are losing the experience and loyalty of those customers. They started to change. They changed escalator direction. They changed navigation. And because we always connect the POS data in real time, we've been able to pinpoint the ideal escalator direction, the ideal place where you could put the signs within the store. And what happened in only 3 weeks? We actually had 36% revenue uplift on the third floor by driving 82% of females up. That's really crazy. In my head, the biggest store of one of the biggest customers, biggest brands in the world, already best performing store, additional 36%. This has been correlated to previous year. There is a natural growth in between March and April, 5%. So maybe it's not 36%, but it's around 30% increase. So just to get ourselves back in the notion of these 5 steps. So we talked about store performance management, shopping time and demographics. Now we'll go to coverage and flow. So why do we need to understand coverage and flow? Most of the stores are not really perfected for the consumers who come in. So have you ever felt coming into a store that you don't know where you are, that you don't know what is on the second floor? So the navigational logic is not perfected. So we use simple cameras which monitor flow, how many people go where are the blockage points, do they see the navigation when they come in, how much do they enter, what is the penetration of a store. And after 1 month, we could do something like this. Now look at this. This is a typical heat map, and we'll talk about heat maps as well today. You've maybe seen numbers of these heat maps. But what we did, we quantified every single bit of this information. And what happened here? First of all, this is a store in London. This store was designed in the USA for right-handed people. So they said most of the people, they come in at the store, the right side of a door, they're going to see the navigation, they're going to come in, everything's going to be fine. In London, people walk on the left-hand side. Even though there are tourists. If you're a tourist, if you go to London, you're going to follow the dominant group, which is a domestic group. 65% of our consumers that have entered the store, they came in through the left door. This is a visualization. When they came into the left door, they didn't see the navigation screen. What happens on a website? When you come in, you don't see the navigation, the menu bar. Are you going to stay on that website? No. So people entered They didn't know how to orient themselves. They bounced back. I cannot show the real numbers in cash. This is staggering. Change the signage to the other part. 2.1 percentage points increase. Not percentage point increase in conversion. Let's take a look at this heat map again. This is something we developed 3 years ago, but once customers started to use this and having 100 heat maps per day, do you have the time to decipher those red, green, blue colors? What do they mean? What is this picture telling you? If you have 100 pictures per day, what's going to be your decision? So then we worked hard and we quantified this information which is coming from a camera. Now what does it mean? Shoppable stores have the great ratio of visitors, people spend time in the stores and they cover it. So we break down the engagement of this heat map in 3 different metrics. Number of visitors is first one, second one is the dwell time, shopping time, and the third one is coverage in percentages. So for instance, this particular store had 5,400 visitors which spend 15.5 minutes in the store, and they actually cover 75% of space. This is still data. There are no decisions still. The narrative arc of this presentation is going up and down, but we didn't actually tell anything about what we do yet. And now look at this. This was a theory. A year ago, we started to monitor these data points. And after a year, I'm going to show you now what happened. So quantified engagement, new metric, being derived from 3 metrics which you could follow in your stores today. And we compared it to conversion per every single floor, and look at this. Visitors per floor, dwell time per floor, and coverage correlate to conversion. More people engage, more people convert. And now we wanted to go even deeper, and this is particularly interesting. How does every single metric impact the conversion? And who is the winner? Is it the visitors? Is it the dwell time? Or is it the coverage? So what we did, we went into extensive research again, and we've seen a store like Apple, aquarium type of a store. Why do we have an aquarium? Is it only to showcase our products? Not really. It's also to show consumers that there are people in the store. Why is that important? It's called the herding effect. If you go to 2 restaurants, one is filled up and the second one is not really filled up, which one will you go to? It's psychological effect of herding. People herd, so as more visitors you have, you'll actually increase the conversion with more visitors in your store. By the way, what happens at one particular point in time, you will have too many visitors. You will not have enough staff to manage those too many visitors, then the congestion will happen and the conversion will go rapidly down. And we could pinpoint in the data for every single store where exactly this moment happens and what do we need to do. Secondly, this is the effect of shopping time on conversion. The more shopping time we have, we are increasing the speed and ease of shopping. And there are 3 things which actually influence shopping time. These are staff, assortment, and product presentation. Lastly, we have effect of coverage on the conversion. So actually, as coverage goes up, also the conversion goes up. And that's pretty logical. So as more space and more categories do you cover, you actually have an easier category access. Not only that you increase the conversion, you also increase the units per transaction. It's logical. The higher opportunity you have to see more SKUs, easier the store logic is, you actually buy more multiple items per basket. And these are the results. Of course, winner is dwell time. Shopping time has 50 to 60% impact on conversion. Still data. Now we're coming to the insights part. What we did, we married all those behavioral data points with economics of the store, with something you drive every day. we have put it in a correlation with revenue per square meter. So if you combine revenue per square meter with engagement per square meter, you could run multi-store performance management. So now we have 4 boxes of our stores. The stores who have high revenue per square meter, high engagement per square meter, these are our best practice stores. Here we have a lot of revenue per square meter, engagement is not really high. If we increase the engagement, we will increase the revenue and push it up into the right. So these are stores who have potential. And on the upper left side, we have huge engagement per square meter, but we are not converting. These stores have issues. We need to optimize those stores. So either we need to optimize the store logic, stuff, you get the point. And because we combine all of the data, imagine you have a store in London, in that specific quadrant. You click on that store and immediately see all of the metrics from the retail mathematics. And you could click and see what actually happens with that door. And this is going to come back later in 5 minutes before we go to the last part of our equation, to the SKU management. So we came from multi-store performance management. We were above Europe in helicopter. Now we are zooming in Amsterdam, Heiligeweg, 1 store inside. We are in 1 SKU. And what's happening here? Why do we need to understand the product interaction? It's actually to optimize the layout and product presentation. It's a huge difference. How do you put and how do you position your products in a store? And what do? This is again a typical heat map, which you've probably seen in many other companies. What do we do with the heat map? We again quantify it. So we give the exact relative number of touches for every individual shoe. So it's like a chessboard. So for every individual shoe, we know exactly in relative points how much is being touched. And then what do? We combine the number of touches with exact sales of the item on floor. Meaning, if this shoe has a high number of touches, low sales, you need to consider a markdown because people are watching at it, looking at it, putting it back. Or again, we put in also the data from stock levels. Sometimes it happens in shoe companies that people really want an object, but you don't have it on stock. You need to know why this shoe is not converting. And on the upper left side, we've seen many cases that an SKU is selling really well, sell-through rate is above 50%, but the number of touches are low. Meaning, if we reposition this particular shoe to the other area, what we call a hot area, we will even increase the sales of that shoe. Now look at this example. What is the best thing about product interaction? This is something you could test really easy. So for instance, we had jeans in one of the stores we've been operating. So it was the most beautiful jean shelf you've ever seen in life. This is a small part. It was a huge jean wall. Nobody actually wanted to touch it. Because in European civilization, especially men, this was a men jean store, we are kind of being brought up to be really polite and we don't want to leave a mess behind because our mother told us we need to really put our bed in place. And men behave in a way that we don't want to take something and then bring it back and to really recognize yourself. You do. And what happened is that store had really great design guidelines, and the chief of design said, no, I want it like this. This is the best design ever. Of course it was, but is the design always usable? Are the beautiful shops always shoppable? I don't think so. So look at this. By using again this technology, we actually quantified the dwell time in seconds into zones, number of touches per shelf, and we correlated that with sales per SKU, and we found one other shelf which had hang t-shirts, and hang t-shirts in male department had 10 times more touches. You get the picture. So this is a new shelf. It costed them half an hour, and look at this, 10% more in jean sales. We discovered this information in one flagship store. They rolled this out across the world. And now is the time that I want to show you how the software actually works. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is action board. This is, forget about dashboards. Dashboards and graphs cannot communicate. This is action board. So let's start from the beginning. What do we want to do? We want to increase the conversion. Visitors are falling. The only thing we could do is to increase the conversion. How do we do it? Okay, we first go and see the whole retailer formula to go deeper and to actually click on conversion. So we're going to do now, we're going to increase the conversion of this store together. We click on a conversion, and on the left hand side we have carriers of conversion, and on the right hand side we have barriers of conversion. So immediately see that this store has installed a new concept, and this new concept has driving 20% more of dwell time, so it's not an issue of concept. Then you see we get this data again from staff rosters. How much staff members do we have per 100 square meters? We correlate this to dwell time, we correlate this to the conversion, and then we see, okay, we have only 1.54 persons per 100 square meter. That may be a problem. And later you have also barriers of conversion. Traffic is okay, it's not too huge, it's not too small, but somehow we have issues with queues because this store runs 5.7 minute queue against 2.5, which is our average. So this is also something which could be addressed by staff. And we want to go further now. And we want to really see what is behind the staff box. So you see, you don't see any graphs. It's fairly simple. And what happens now is that our system automatically goes and checks those 3 points. So shopping time per floor, conversion per floor, and your investment in staff per floor. And what happens now, you immediately see on the ground floor, we have invested the least amount of money in staff members on the ground floor, at the same time generated less shopping time, and as a result we have a lowest conversion on the ground floor. And system automatically tells you that dwell time on the ground floor should be increased to 8 minutes, which is an average in that store. And we have the least amount of staff members per 100 square meter on this ground floor. And then what we do, these are not the real numbers here by the way, we try to actually predict if we invest 80k in staff in a month or in a year, what is the additional opportunity that we will yield from? And what is the potential return on investment? This is when people start to take action, when we see that we could actually yield a return. And what happens next is that every single action we do, this is something we discovered, that we don't, if you ask a retailer in the last 1 year in a particular store in Paris, do you know what happened in that store? What are the changes? What are the actions? Do you have a project management list? Most of the retailers don't have. So we decided to take this one step further. All of the actions which we do with this system are going to be recorded, meaning that we know what happened before and what happened after. And as the last step, you could also see on a really simple timeline what happened before when somebody else did action on this particular subject. And then you just click and say, this is a recipe, I've increased the staff members on the ground floor by 5. Let's see what happens. And now, do you have 2 weeks? Shall we wait for 2 weeks? So in 2 weeks you come back to the system and you check, did the conversion go up or down? And you record it. And this is how it works, perpetual learning and motion. This is just enough time to actually launch a new product today. This is for the first time we're actually showing this to anybody in the industry. So what we believe actually, that there are many different systems which we could use for retail optimization and retail analytics. And what happens is there are so many companies that are calling themselves actionable insights, smart analytics, but they are not actually that smart. And if you start using people counters, Wi-Fi analytics, and heat maps, which are a little bit smarter, but what happens when you add all of these features and start to integrate, the actual easiness to use gets down. So you have something which is a little bit less smarter, but again, it's not really easy to use, so you will not use it. So what we are developing is a leapfrog product, something way beyond anything else, which is at the same time both smart and easy to use. And how are we going to do it? We're going to do it by doing three things. So what we are introducing today is a revolutionary user interface, and its smartness which becomes even more smarter, and at the end we are embedding actions and knowledge center inside of the same system. And what is the common problem with all of the tools on the market? Is this part. What does it really mean? So this is a bunch of numbers, bunch of data. What shall I do? How will I record it? So this does not work. So we need to introduce something which is way faster and different. The second thing is this has to become the easiest platform to use. The complexity behind needs to be hidden. So human brain could only think in 2 or 3 dimensions. Computers can think in n dimensions. So if you plot something in n-dimensional system, you cannot see it, but AI technology can. So it's becoming smarter as you use it, and more data points as you drive it, it becomes smarter. And at the end, we are building a Coursera, which you're going to design with us. So all the learnings we have, like the 3 ones I showed, become a part of a learning center, which you could put in motion with your colleagues, so that every single learning which we have learned becomes embedded in the organization and increases the conversion not only in your store, but in the entire fleet. And this is Kubrick. This is how it works. So you could use it now from your pockets by sending a simple email to Kubrick, and he will respond. This is like Siri for retail, going even deeper in action and recording all of the learnings we have together. I'm going to show it to you now.
You like your store running smoothly, don't you? Doing all you can to keep that comfort feeling customers get when they enter your store. They can't really pinpoint the reason for having this feeling. But you can. You understand the creativity needed for proper visual merchandising, the efforts endured for effective staff training, and the must-have insights for assortment planning. You already know that to really understand what is happening inside your store, it's important to track both economical and behavioral metrics. But can you really be bothered with analytic dashboards along with everything else you're managing? Wouldn't it be better if you could just do what you do best and have all those insights come straight to you? Meet Kubrick, your intelligent and proactive retail analytics expert. No coding, no dashboards, no complex integration models, just simple emails keeping you in the loop with what's happening inside your store. It's just that they aren't that simple. Kubrick gives you daily performance metrics, but also uses artificial intelligence to track anomalies and outliers in your store performance. That means that your metrics also come with tips on where to focus your attention on to improve your store's performance. And it doesn't stop there. Ask Kubrick questions about your store performance and it'll swiftly respond with actual performance insights. Actionable insights available to you whenever you need them. Smart, simple changes make big differences. Start making them. Kubrick.
Thank you very much for your attention.